George Marsden's The Outrageous Idea of Christian Scholarship examines the secularization of the university and how it impacts student life, education, and faith. Marsden begins his analysis of the university by examining why Christian perspectives are not welcomed and concludes that non-religious viewpoints hold the advantage in academia. Because of the changes instituted to correct the issue, both Christian and non-Christian who have reached and now overreacted to the problems of having quasi-established religion in a pluralistic modern society. The second section, the argument for silence, Marsden speaks to what he calls the science versus religion stereotype, a stereotype that I encountered even during my undergraduate degree when non-Christian friends saw my creation science textbook. While this is a significant issue with Christian scientists and non-Christian scientists alike, Marsden concludes that they prove to be just prejudices. In the third section, Christian Scholarship and the Rules of the Academic Game, Marsden argues that while it is certainly true that some religious believers wish to destroy the pluralistic academy, there are many other religious viewpoints, including some theologically conservative ones, which harbor no desire. While it is true that some Christians might want to see the openness of the university destroyed, there are many others that understand that the restrictions that could be placed upon the educational system. However, that does not mean that faith does not need to play a part in the discussion. In the fourth section, what difference could it possibly make? Marsden looks at the most significant questions that are likely to be raised regarding the possibility of the advisability of developing identifiable Christian scholarship, concluding that moral judgments are not the whole of the Christian influence on scholarship, rather they are part of a larger pattern of values that will set the scholar's academic agenda. And in the fifth section, George Marsden looks at the positive contributions of theological context, writing that while God and theology should be considered as factors in our scholarship, we do not want to reduce our subjects to their theological dimensions alone. Marsden concludes this section by saying Christians need to also be alert to the tendency of Christians themselves to absolutize the culturally relative, often name of Christ. In the sixth and final section, Building Academic Communities, Marsden argues that contemporary Christian scholarship will not realize its potential unless it can establish a strong institutional base. Marsden concludes the sixth section of this book by saying that despite the forces that continue to push for the homogeneous academic culture based exclusively on university research models, there is nothing that makes the long drift from the religious to secular in higher education inevitable. While Marsden's points in outrageous ideas of Christian scholarship are often valid, they do not always have to be true. Christians can find strength together within the university, and while it is not beneficial to study the theological traits of different disciplines exclusively, the inclusion of theology into various forms of academic research can be fruitful in providing unique answers to questions the individual discipline alone may not solve. When I began my educational journey at Liberty more than 8 years ago, I began my undergraduate degree as a theology major, but by my second semester I realized the benefit of adding the history discipline to my degree completion plan, as theology and history go hand in hand, and by the time I reached my master's degree I just couldn't make a choice between the two disciplines as one contributes to the development of the other, so I chose to make my master's degree an interdisciplinary degree that focused on history and theology together. Although with my doctorate I was forced to finally make a choice, and I suppose since I'm in this class with all of you, we all know what choice I made. But it doesn't mean that I don't miss having those theology classes in the mix, adding an additional contributing perspective and factor to the way that I attain my knowledge through history.